A worker, moments before it gets crushed, discovers something moving in a pile of rubbish. Each bag is inspected for metal before being thrown in the waste disposal at the Gorkama utility center in Russia. This guarantees that there won't be any problems when the trash within the machine is crushed. But on December 21st, 2020, Mikhail Tukish, a center worker, found something still alive inside one of the trash bags. Tukish would have crushed the seemingly dead mountain of rubbish along with the several other piles of junk sent to his work site every day if he hadn't looked at it. Had he not exhibited his rapid thinking and decisiveness, his employers may have had a very different tale to tell worldwide. Garbage collectors are aware that, for the most part, their work is somewhat thankless. In addition to handling strangers' waste, they also have to make sure that nothing improper goes in the trash, which may be more difficult than it seems. Should you have ever come across a trash collector, you are aware that they must visit several homes every day, possibly even hundreds, in order to gather enough trash for a week. The trash collectors just don't have enough time to inspect every bag to make sure nothing unusual is hiding inside. The majority of people discard food waste and undesirable objects from around the house, but occasionally garbage collectors come upon something very strange, such as an item that has never been used, or an antique family heirloom that would have been a good candidate for a thrift store. However, the discovery made by a Russian waste collector nearly crushed his heart. Mikhail Tukish didn't anticipate that his first day at work sorting trash on a snowy December day would be any different from any other day at the office. Sorting previously collected garbage is his responsibility in order to ensure that the materials that are going to be crushed won't damage the company's equipment. Tukish claimed that the garbage bag that was traveling toward him was moving while he was working, but he wasn't going to let anything stop him from working, so he handled the issue more calmly. However, as he raised the bag to examine its contents, he felt his heart stop as he saw that something was moving within. Mikhail Tukish's employment was an absolute stinker, in contrast to what most people would consider to be their horrible job. That's because he didn't work 9 to 5 at a desk in the immaculate-looking offices of a startup. On December 21st, 2020, Tukish entered the Gorkama utility center in the Zavodsky area of Russia, just as he had on every other workday since he began working here. However, he was unaware that this day would take on an entirely different outcome. The majority of people are unaware that waste management involves more than merely gathering trash bags and disposing of them in a landfill for eventual decomposition. Before the trash reaches its destination, it has to go through a procedure that Tukish is all too familiar with. The garbage truck first delivers the gathered waste from across the city to the utility center. The unpleasant portion of the work starts when the workers cut the bags and dump all the trash onto a conveyor belt. To be sure there is nothing metallic within the sacks, Tukish and the other workers must go through the foul contents. Before putting anything in the trash, they take anything they discover out. However, there was something really peculiar about one waste bag in particular. When employees pull open a waste bag, they usually have no idea what they're about to discover. They like to wear masks when performing this portion of the work, since the only thing they know for sure is that they stink. However, Tukish had no idea that he would be saving a life while at work that day. Immediately upon receiving a fresh load of trash off the conveyor belt, Tukish and his colleagues set to work. However, he was unaware that there was something concealed within the single white trash bag when he picked it up. Tukish had no idea that the most recent bag he had picked up contained a live, breathing creature because it had not moved or made any noise. However, as soon as he opened the bag, everyone turned to see what was inside Tukish's bag. A cat had been found inside one of the bags, shocking Tukish and his co-workers. Have he have to rely on one of his 9 lives to get by? Most likely not, but after Tukish had sliced through the sack, he came dangerously near to losing one. Luckily, the cat was unharmed, but how did it enter the trash bag? It was a stunning black and white cat. The revelation so caught the workers off guard that they paused the belt line to consider what they had just learned. Inside the bag, Tukish felt something soft, he told the newspaper Moskovsky Komsomolets. I slightly opened the sack and noticed eyes staring back at me. After the first shock subsided, he had the want to cry. He asked himself, why would someone do this to a cat? One of Tukish's co-workers pointed at him and the newfound cat that had appeared in all of their lives, as the employees were aware that they were being videotaped by the company's cameras. After traveling to the waste management site, though, was the small creature all right? The cat didn't appear to have any wounds, nor were there any signs of malnutrition. The workmen were greatly perplexed by this. Well-adjusted, content cats in secure homes seldom leap into trash bags. So what exactly was the problem with this cat? Not one to leave anything to chance, Tukish and the other staff members brought the cat to the vet to have it examined. And what they found there supported their presumption that this cat was one lucky son of a gun. It was no accident, though, how he got into the sack. Tukish and his colleagues came to the conclusion that a healthy cat had been thrown into a rubbish bag and then abandoned as they continued to think about it. Would they, however, be able to identify the culprit? To Tukish, this was a sign of an increasing number of individuals who are trash themselves. There are no adequate words to describe someone who would throw a live animal in the trash like this. Who, though, and why did this? It was going to be tough to track out the original owner of the cat. It wasn't as if he wore a collar bearing the private details of his human. Whoever the guilty culprit might be, this person came out as callous. However, the cat was now secure and would soon travel the world as a VIP. Though the original owners may have forgotten about their cat, the administration of the Ulyanovsk area and the staff at Gorkama's did not. Given that they discovered the cat just a few days before Christmas, they saw him as a Christmas miracle. But this fortunate cat was showered with accolades. The Nature and Cyclical Economy Ministry of the Ulyanovsk area bestowed to the cat the distinguished title of Deputy Minister of the Animal Protection Department. But would this nameless cat have a name in his new role? The cat was a deputy minister without a name, and as of this writing it remains so, but they want to have a cat naming competition soon. The government hasn't said what his tasks will be either, although it's likely that one of them will include maintaining his cuteness. Not only did he receive appreciation in this circumstance, but others did too. Since Tukish was the one who discovered the cat, it goes without saying that he was commended for saving the animal. His prize was an increase in income, which was quite helpful given the upcoming holidays. The cat, meantime, became well known very fast. Social media platforms and broadcast news channels both featured footage of the cat's incredible rescue. This swiftly made the cat a local sensation as people's hearts softened for the cute animal that had almost died the most horrible way imaginable. According to the ministry, the cat was on the verge of death on Wednesday, December 23, 2020. Had it been a little longer, it would have wound up in the garbage divider, they said. However, this was not a unique instance. There have been previous instances where a pet was saved from the jaws of a garbage separator. There have been others, Moscow's local television said, among them an African hedgehog known as Vezanka, Russian for lucky. The environment minister, Gulnara Rakamatulana, addressed her nation's citizens, saying, "I want to appeal to pet owners. Keep in mind that you are accountable for the people you have subdued. You may always leave your pet in caring hands or at a shelter if you are unable to care for it at home." While some cats manage to get into odd places like cardboard boxes and laundry hampers, very few end themselves trapped in a closed garbage can with no way out. However, it is just what transpired with one unlucky cat that did not arrive by chance. There was a thorough investigation into the welfare of the animal and the location of the woman following the discovery of hidden camera footage showing her putting a cat into a trash can by the camera operator. It is a terrible offense to purposefully endanger animals, and the punishment is years in prison. This woman clearly understood precisely what she was doing, and there didn't seem to be any good reason to toss this cat out so violently. Calling animal control, who can securely apprehend a wandering animal, would have been a wiser course of action. However, this cat's voyage wouldn't be so easy. Trash collectors just make sure that everything in a container is loaded onto a truck to be further sifted before being dumped in a landfill or incinerator. Thus, they might not notice a cat dropped in the trash. As several garbage sorters soon discovered, this is the reason it is so risky to put animals inside trash cans. This kitten had experienced a terrifying voyage by the time it arrived at the waste sorting plant. The falling rubbish all around it had twisted its fur, and something sticky had covered its face, making it difficult for it to breathe. It was almost too little to be identified as a cat, which is why the facility staff were practically blind to it. When some employees saw the cat, they were on the verge of accepting that it was a genuine, breathing animal. However, as the material was removed from its face, it became evident that the living cat needs significant assistance to escape its current situation, and that is precisely what the staff at the waste sorting plant was going to do. The cat from the trash was having trouble moving its limbs because it was wrapped in plastic bag fragments. The cat was recovered from the conveyor belts of a recycling company in New Jersey that were going to a glass crusher, sharing a similar fate to the Russian cat. However, because it had also made its way into a rucksack, this cat was very impossible to locate. The cat was discovered in the Burlington County Recycling Center, where it was discovered buried beneath more than 2 tons of trash and survived a night in the harsh weather. Shortly before it would have met an unfortunate end, a worker by the name of Barry Donaldson saw the motions of the cat and stopped the conveyor belt. Donaldson remembered, "I looked at it real closely and they were moving, and I was like, oh wow, there is something in this bag." Another worker recalled the sights and noises of the approaching glass-crushing machine, stating, "I looked to my right and I saw all the teeth going. That would have been horrendous. They just popped their head up and meowed, meow," Donaldson went on. "I knew they were still alive and well at that point when I heard that." Afterwards, one of the staff members adopted the cat, naming it Precious. When the employee saw her new kitten for the first time, she recalled, "Right away I said, I gotta have her."